We have a small but mighty little group here today, so pretty excited that you're joining us today. We've got some exciting new things that are happening with the Smart Table, and I'm glad that you're here to find out a little bit more. This is actually going to be kind of the start of a series, so that's how I'm going to kind of frame it. So for those of you that are listening and not joining us live, this will be kind of the first in a series. I thought to start back with some people that might be new to the Smart Table and maybe new to some of the new things that are available right now. So let's talk about our agenda. We'll do some introductions. Like I said, I'm Heather Lamb. We'll talk about our purpose, what's new to the Smart Table. There is a new download, an update to the table and the toolkit, and then I said this will be our back to school, or back to basics series. I'll try to really encourage you to look at some of our training and professional development resources, the Smart Exchange. We'll do a quick overview of the table toolkit because that's going to be actually the next month. We'll delve into that a little bit more, and just some other resources. So that's what's on the agenda today. So that's me. I'm Heather Lamb. I am the education consultant in Texas. So I see a few of you that I know who you are, so I'm glad that you're here. And those of you that join us virtually listening to this, I'm glad that you find these informative, and I hope that these sessions help to better understand the Smart Table, especially the Smart Table Toolkit. I am on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, I'm HeatherLamb08, and I do post my resources and other resources in my digital dashboard. I've updated it just a little bit to include some of the new training resources. If you're familiar with the Smart Learning space, that has, you might see a new name called Course Park. It's actually all one of the same, but the Course Park piece is new. If you are familiar with our Smart Texas webinar, and actually in the next month, after this month, starting in May, it's going to actually not be a Texas webinar. It's going to be a sort of a national webinar, so we'll invite anybody from any state to join us. I'm joining one of my colleagues, Tara, and I will be facilitating those. So building on the same idea, but really just really expanding our reach. How can you participate? So if you've joined us before, and these names all seem pretty familiar, so if you have a question, because a lot of this is new and it is a smaller group joining us live, so if you do have a question and you do have a headset or your microphone, you can ask questions in the question panel, and I'll be watching those. And then if you want to raise your hand and ask me a question live, please feel free to do that. I'd love for you to do that, and it would be, I mean, it's very easy, and I'd love to hear from you. So you can do that. I also wanted to let you know that I am recording the session, and I fixed it, so for some reason it reverts back to having a codec, so I fixed that so it'll record in the right format. So I'm excited about that, and one less step that I have to do. I am playing around with, when I send out the follow-up email, adding some links to, if you need a certificate to show proof that you have attended the session live, I'll send that out, as well as linking to this file. So if you need to share this or use this or come back to it, you can come back to this file as well, not just listen to it. So those are some additions that I'll be including. So what is the purpose? Why do we do this? Well, it's sometimes to collectively share the resources that we have, share our ideas, building skills. Some of the months, like today, is more of an informative session and a Q&A kind of session because we've got some new things. Next month will be more of our make it and take it, so I'll be developing some resources that will look more into the table toolkit. Well, I hope that we'll be even develop a broader community and sharing best practices, and then that lends into the networking. So what's really exciting, as you'll see throughout this file, is this little, and I'm using my tools within Notebook, this picture right here. So SMART released recently our new SMART table 442i. So you notice these kiddos are on the table. It's we'll talk more about it, but you can really find more information on our website, smarttech.com. If you want to see more, there's a video about it. It's about 90% larger. It uses a different kind of a top. It's an LCD type of panel. It does allow for 8 students to really comfortably get around the table, and then it is also that multi-touch. You can also see up here, we're doing some road shows, and I know in Texas we're doing road shows, and I know they're doing them across North America and beyond. And in these road shows, we've got our SMART tables. So if you want to know if there's some road shows that are taking place in your area, you know, you could email me or find out if there's one, or if you've missed it, is there another one coming, or how can you find out more about these new products? In our roadshow, we have a little mascot, Allie, and this is Allie right here. She's actually an armadillo, and she goes with us, and we take pictures. And she was, you can plug in. We have a new smart document camera, and you can plug that into the table, just like our other document cameras. It has to be a smart document camera, and you have another layer or level of integration. So that is where we're going. Now the coolest thing is those of you that have the SMART Table 230i, never fear, because everything I'm going to show you and tell you will work on that table. So everything that we're doing, you'll be able to update your software. That's what we're going to talk about today. So some of those key pieces that are already probably percolating in your head. So that's it. What's new? So what's new is this new awesome 442i Collaborative Learning Center. So this is it. This is a great picture of it. It's on a pedestal base, so it uses that LCD top. It does have, I put a picture over here of the student controls. So based on a lot of feedback, great feedback that we get from teachers, that we added some of these additional features. There's headphone volume control, there's a headphone jack, there is a USB port, and there's 5 of these USB ports. So there's 2, these 2 right here, and then there's 2 on this side, and then there's 1, I believe it's on this side, and that's actually where the document camera will plug into. It does come with optional casters. It has been safety tested for 200 pounds, so if you're wondering about the top and the tipping, just like our 230i, the spilling, all of those things that we know happen in our classrooms, you don't have to worry about it. So you don't have to worry about it. You can just integrate with it just like you would. If you're interested in it, please let me know. I can get you in contact with someone. But wanted to talk about that because that's probably what you'll see as far as some of the resources out there referring to the 442i. So I'm not going to really speak to it actually, because this is more about, building the community and building content. But it does lead us into, some of those things that are new. Because it's new, what do we have new? So let me go back to my select tool. I guess I could use my control keys. There is a new software. So the Smart Table software will work on both tables. So the Smart Table, it's version 2.6. You can, and I will go out to our website and look, but you're going to look for 2.6 software. So that is new. It just released, I believe, last week. It goes on your table. So a lot of times I get questions from people, and they say, well, which one am I supposed to load? It will be the table software goes on your table. It's a very, very easy, seamless process, but it goes on your table. So basically what you will do is, and I'm hoping that this was the picture that it used to show up, but basically you'll download, and I'll show you where the download is. You'll go to our website, you'll download the software, you'll download it to a USB and extract it. And then when you extract it, you'll get all of the parts. And once you get all the parts there, because it prompts you to do all these things. Once you get all the parts, you're going to take those parts and you're going to put them on a USB drive. It doesn't have to be any it doesn't have to be as specific. I know the tables, the first generations of our tables came with this bracelet. It doesn't have to be that bracelet. Any USB will work. I have noticed that if you have a USB that has a kind of a push, the piece that goes into the table, the USB part, if it's a push and pull back, if it doesn't lock, those are not the best because it doesn't actually push in correctly, and it seems to pull, when you push it in, it kind of retracts back. But what should happen is that when you push it in, you don't have to get into the table. There is a little computer in here, all of those things. There's speakers, all of that stuff is inside of the table, and you don't have to get in there and know any of that. You place that table software on the table, on the USB, and when you do that, it should prompt you and say, hey, a software update is available. Do you want to install it now? It's going to take, you're going to keep that USB plugged in. It's going to push all that out to the table. It's going to remove everything that it doesn't need, and then after a certain period of time, I've noticed it not taking very long, maybe 10 minutes to go remove and add everything. You're going to have your table software updated. So this is version 2.6. It is available. If I go out to, let me go out here and let me go to our website. And if I go to the support tab right here, this is where, and I go down to software downloads. This is where the download is. What I might recommend is if you have a bunch of tables that you need to update, that you just put this table software somewhere, you save it after you've extracted it, and you just place it somewhere that's on a shared drive or something. But notice it's not really software in the same respects as our notebook software, all of those things. If I scroll down, I'm just going to keep doing, it's right there, right where the picture of the table is, and when I click on the version, there is the table software. And since I'm right here, you'll notice that there is our 2.5 for Windows. So 2.6 is the table software, and 2.5 is the table toolkit software. It is Windows and Mac, so if you're using in a Mac environment for your toolkit, obviously the table is running Windows, so you don't have to worry about that, but the toolkit is Windows and Mac, and it's 2.5. Another update that we'll talk about is some people have asked me, do I have to go back in and do I have to load Smart Notebook? So no, the table is built with a special platform of Smart Notebook. So it's not a secondary piece. It's actually built within the toolkit. So that's all. If you download this or this, you'll be good to go depending on which kind of operating system, which kind of computer you have. So that's available right now from smarttech.com, our website. If I go back to my file, and on the new table, which they are shipping now, they started shipping April, I believe April 15th, 13th, 15th, they're shipping now. So if you get that, any USB port will work for that. With the other table, I notice I have a picture of the other table. The other table, either one of there's two ports on this table. So it uses exactly the same format, and you won't have any troubles updating your software. So it's a pretty easy, slick process. What else is new? There's a teacher menu. Because we're running the table, the 442i it's a 16:9 ratio. When I look at the screen resolutions, it's actually 90% larger screen size. So what does that mean? That means that your table activity packs are going to be bigger. If you have the other table, they still work fantastic. So this is like kind of the best of both worlds. It's 16:9, but there is a setting. So as we get more sophisticated in our development, you might find an activity pack that was created for, say, the Smart Table 442i. You might need to go in and change your screen settings to do that. So this is, if you're familiar with the Smart Table, this is our teacher menu. And what happens when you plug in the USB, this is where you get the teacher menu. So you plug the USB in and you get the teacher menu. There is, and I'll talk about this in the next series, I believe, the orient screen. So there is an orient as well, or this is calibrate. So you calibrate or orient, the same things where you have the telling the touch where to touch. You still will do that. There is an icon that looks a little different because the new table looks a little different. So that if you ever, someone said, well, I don't know what version of my Smart Table software we're running. Well, you could click on this little icon right here, and that little, it looks like a little table. That will tell you, you can click on there and find out which version of the software you're running. Don't forget that when you're using, you want to change your users, that's your users. This is your volume control. The volume control is for your speakers, and on the new table, it has the audio control on its own. So, and then this is your settings that normally you won't have to change it or do anything to it. And then in the center is your choose activities. So this is your teacher menu. This is where you choose the activity pack that you're going to use in some of those teacher specifications. That you'll notice when you click, if you were to click on this, you will see some of the activity packs. If you are running, once we start seeing more of the 442 eyes out there. Some of the activity packs you'll see are they were created in a 4:3 ratio. So you might see some black edges, which is not a problem. It doesn't interfere with anything, interfere with the learning. We are updating many of those activity packs to be that 16:9. But if you've got the 230i, that's a 4:3 ratio, and the newest table is a 16:9. Right. So I think I'm going to do this and make that a little bigger, and that way I can keep my tools. So what else is new is the new table software is running Smart Notebook 11. So a minute ago I said that you did not have to add notebooks separately. So if you were to create any activities that have notebook as part of them, and if you're a Smart Notebook user, you could create notebook files in Notebook 11, and everything will work. The activity builder, those kinds of pieces will work on with the new software. So that's really exciting. The Lesson Activity Toolkit has been working and with no problems, but the activity builder was actually built in a different version of software that was currently loaded. But now, since we've updated to 2.6 of our table software, we're good to go. And we'll talk more about building in our series. All right, another thing that's we've always had third-party apps, but I wanted to kind of give you more of an explanation because this seems to be one of those things that kind of causes some hurdles for people. So we've got third-party applications. Third-party applications are, let me bring up my table activity pack that I have. This is an activity pack that I actually downloaded from the Exchange, but what I really want you to look at is this side over here. So if you look at this side over here, I've got Edition, Edition Plus, A is for Bubble Phonics, flashcards. A is for Bubble Phonics, flashcards. Those are what we call third-party apps. Grouping Game is a third-party app. A while ago, Narrow It Down was a third-party app, but then we included that. Here's Smart Notebook, so that's why I say you don't have to load it separately because it's part of the toolkit and it's part of the table software. Here's some others. Puzzle Bubbles Challenge and Free Puzzle Bubbles Game. Wow, say that 3 times fast. So basically what I've done is I've added these. There's 2 things that you have to do. So if you find some applications or some activity packs, so when you go into the table and you find an activity pack and it gives you a message, hey, this was built and you don't have puzzle bubbles on your table, you need to go back and you're going to have to add them. You're going to download them from the Smart Exchange and you're going to add them. So I'm going to quickly kind of go through the process just a little bit so you can see this. It's a very seamless process, but it just kind of causes some people some stumbling blocks. So those of you that are watching, or if you've got questions, if you're live, let me know. But basically, this is the icon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the steps because there's some really, really cool applications out there. So I've gone to the Smart Exchange. Remember, exchange.smarttech.com. And so, let's see. So if I go here, notice I'm signed in. If you don't have a login to the Smart Exchange, please do. The other thing is when I talked about the learning space or training and professional development, the Smart Learning Space is now working with CoursePark. So really exciting. So if you see that, it's the same. It's kind of a Facebook-y social media kind of learning, online learning. There's some free things that you can view. But what we're looking for is, let's say, I'm not even going to go to file type. I'm just going to do what many teachers do. Many teachers, let's say if I'm looking for frogs. So we're going to spring, or let me just do this. I did spring a second ago. So earlier today when I was looking for an activity pack, I typed in spring because it's really nice in Texas today. So it hasn't been that way. So some of you may be in some cold, chilly areas or, things, but it was really chilly in Texas the last couple of days, but it's very nice today. So, so notice when I typed in spring. So right down here, I didn't put any subjects, I didn't put any grades, I didn't put any countries. But what I'm going to do, let's see. I am going to scroll down and notice that on the left-hand side, so I have spring, all subjects. I'm going to come down here and I want to narrow my results because it brought up everything that has anything to do with spring. So I'm going to look right here and notice that there's 440. So I'm doing this because many teachers say, oh my gosh, look how many things there are. Activity packs are 725. And I was like, no. Let's look. Let's narrow it down. So I could take these notebook files and put them inside of the toolkit. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not there yet. So I'm going to keep scrolling down, keep scrolling down, keep scrolling down. There are, hopefully you're seeing this, 44 activity packs that have something to do with spring. So I'm going to click on them. And now I have many activity packs that you can see are based on, we've created, or we have third-party developers creating them. So hopefully you guys that are watching are seeing this. So I'm not asking a lot of questions. I'm kind of driving through this so that we can ask, I can ask some questions. But notice that I have spring right here. It's for kindergarten. It's science. If I want to preview it, I can click on the preview button and I can go through it a little bit and see what it's all about. Looks pretty cute, if I have to say so myself. It's been downloaded over 1,300 times. Somebody liked it. Different people liked it 3 times. Now the liking things, a little challenge, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It could have been liked 5 times, but somebody came back in and unselected. So I would go on how many times it's been downloaded if I were you. But so what I can do is I can download it. So that's an activity pack that I can go for. So what else? We were talking about third-party apps. So this one, if I were to download it, only has these applications in it. I can always customize it. So if I go back to my Smart Exchange, I know that there's a whole bunch of applications or activity packs that I can go with. I'm going to go back to the Home button. This time I'm searching because I was really looking for those smart applications, those table applications. So I'm going to click on File Type. Do you see where it says File Type on my screen? When I do that, there's Smart Table Activity Packs and there's Smart Table Applications. So those third-party applications are called Smart Table Applications. When I click on that, it is going to bring up those third-party applications. Now, you can start seeing some things. So here's Bubble Phonics, here's flashcards, There's Story Stage for Mac, which is not new. You can start seeing a whole bunch of new ones. There are even, the Smart Exchange has started to be a repository for publishers to offer fee-based applications. So if you are, and they go through a pretty rigorous look to make sure that they're qualified. So if I look on here, if I go down to the bottom, there's a couple that are fee-based. So Multi-Touch Math, Sequence Balloons, and Math Bingo are $4.95. And when you click on, if you say, "Ooh, I like that," you can see that it is, it gives you kind of the information that you need to have loaded and stuff. And then this one I can go to more, and it gives you a little more directions. So I'm going to be probably working on some of these to try to get a little bit more direction to them. But you can see this one's kind of neat looking. Material Mix. So some pretty nice ones out there. So people keep asking and asking and asking. So let's talk how this works. So let me see if I can find one that I don't have yet. So when I go here, there's Word Stew. So what I'll do is I'll click it. And what I'm going to do is I am going to save it. When I save it, it's going to save, and it's going to save into my downloads. Let's see what happens. Actually, let's see what happens with there. So let's go. Here's what I need to do. So, whoops. Actually, they're much easier than they used to be. So I don't know if you watched that or not, but basically, what I did is, let me go to my downloads right here. So let's go to my documents and go to my downloads. Here is what I just, nope, that's not. Let's go to Date Modified. Here it is, Word Stew. Notice this icon. So let me go back to my notebook file. See that icon right there? That's what you have to look for. But here's what I noticed. Some of the times they zip. So what we've noticed recently, I use Firefox as my default browser. If you're using Internet Explorer, you might need to, if you're not a Firefox user, I would recommend using Firefox because for some reason Internet Explorer wants to zip them. If that happens to you, you should save your file, do a file save as .table application. So for some reason, Internet Explorer zips them. We've discovered that. I think, Terry, we were working on that with you, and that was a struggle. So Firefox is a key. We're hoping that does fix, but these are third-party applications. So hopefully through this virtually, you'll be able to go back, and so you'll go to the Smart Exchange, you'll download. Notice that I didn't have to extract this. I just saved it. Let me show you what happens, because I don't have this loaded. So I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to show you the stats. So basically, I went to my documents. I'm going to go to my downloads, and I'm going to do Date Modified so I get that work. Now watch this. I don't have my Smart Table Toolkit open. That is important. Don't have your Smart Table Toolkit open. Here is Word Stew. I'm going to double click on that. It's going to take a couple of seconds, and you notice it opened up a new Smart Table. Whoopsie. It opened up a new Smart Table Toolkit, a blank one, and if I scroll down, and they're in alphabetical order, Word Stew should be there. There it is. Word Stew is there. Pretty easy, pretty easy. Some things to remember is don't have your Smart Table Toolkit open because it's going to open it up for you, and you can only have one instance of it opened. And then I have it here, so that means basically what happens is these are customizable. So if I go to, oh, this one's not customizable. Ate my words in the Word Stew. So what would happen, if you're familiar with Story Stage, some of those are not customizable. So if I were to put Story Stage on here, that's not customizable. So it just kind of works. It's not a customizable application. But what's nice is I could create an activity pack around words that would, the A is for, you'll have to, we're going to delve into these in one of the sessions, but you could create an activity pack that includes this, and then you just play it or you interact with it. Your students, you know, we kind of say learning is play, so because sometimes that's what happens. They don't feel, kids don't realize that sometimes they're really learning, but it's fun learning. So the word stew would be on your table. Now that's step one. So step one is I've got to get it inside of my toolkit. Step two is that, and you could do this as step two by itself, but I like to put it in part of my table activity packs. So step two, what do I do for step two? Step two is, if I go back to my notebook file, this is step two. Step two is I've got to take that file that's in my download section. So let me come back here and look. This right here, I am going to copy this word stew to a USB drive. I'm going to copy to a USB drive. I'm going to plug it into my table. And when I plug it in, I'm going to select that middle button. So you know that this, let me change the order of this so we can see this a little bigger. So let me bring this up. So in that middle, it says table activity packs. I'm going to choose the table activity packs. So when I select on that, what's going to happen, if you're familiar with the table, is I hope that you are. If you haven't done this, this is where you choose your applications, you choose your activities. What's going to happen is it will bring up this, let me change the order of this, so you can see this. So what's going to happen is it's going to ask you, so from that flash drive, so from the bracelet, this is actually going to look like a USB drive versus a bracelet. You'll scroll down and it'll say activities, and then it'll say application. You choose word stew and click open. And now what's happened is that it's actually adding that program to the computer in the table. So now when you put that USB in and you have an activity pack that says had word stew in it, you could have it in your table activity pack, but you might not have it on the table. I tell people it's kind of like, I had someone recently send me a file and said, hey, can you help me with this? Well, it was Kid Pics, and I don't have Kid Pics on my computer. So if you're familiar with doing something that you don't have the program on your computer, it says, hey, I can't find the program. What do you want me to do, basically? Well, that's what happens. I can have activity packs that have third-party applications, but they've not been added to the table, and it'll not give you a nice little message that will say, hey, I can't find, narrow it down, I can't find word stew. You click OK and you can move on, and then maybe come back and load them if you don't have the time. The activity pack will still interact with the applications that the table can read and the activities that the students can interact with, just not those. So hopefully that makes sense to you. It's a little like, the first couple of times I did it, it was like, but then it's the thing I love about the table and the table activity pack, it's very routine. You know, when you do one thing, it's the same thing. It's routine. It's the same process over and over and over. So as we found out with word stew, some of the applications are not customizable. Some of them are, and I'll show you one that is. So if I go back, so what happens, look at this, A is for app. So if I come in here, this one's customizable. If you're familiar with image reveal was looked very much like this. So when I customize A is for app, it's going to bring up, here's your customizing toolbar. So you can add pictures to this, and it tells you how to create content. Drag your images. So this is a really neat, fun activity or application that the kids, there's a little professor, and the professor asks them to, you have items, and then they have to sort items based on like what is on a farm, what is in the wild, who would I find, you know, you could do very endless things, but you can add sounds to them, you can record or add your own voice if you want to, so pretty neat. That one's called A is for app. Let me leave this page and go, whoopsie, let's go back here. So let me go back. The bubble phonics is, let's see, that one. So, yep, that one's customizable. So I'm going to, in one of my series, I'll talk more about some of these third-party applications. I've played a few I've interacted with a few, I've played with a few. The kids have played on the tables that I've been part of. So some of them there's some games already created. So I encourage you to look at that. What else I was going to say? So if I'm going to pause right here and ask anybody, anybody have any questions? I don't see any questions in the chat box or in the question box. So you can ask those questions if that just kind of went over your head, or, it's one of those things that once you get on your table, it's the same process for the 230i, and that's why I put those pictures in there. It's the same process for both. So I've had recently a couple people that made the mistake of putting like the whole, like they forgot to put the table, forgot to put they put the activity in their toolkit, but they forgot to put it on their table, and they didn't realize, why it wouldn't read it. The zipped file, i.e. Internet Explorer seems to zip files, and what I really mean by that is when you save it, when you download it, and it'll ask you, do you want to open or save it? If you save it like right here. So let me choose a highlighter. Save it .table application, otherwise it'll zip it and it won't be parts. So that's really what I mean by that zip. So IE will do that. Firefox, I'm using Firefox with no problem. So that's good to know. All right, so we talked about the smart table. Let me get rid of this. So we talked already about that. So it is Windows and Mac. It is, actually, let me put that back. I didn't mean to. I think I was looking at it earlier. So it is the new, if you go to your table toolkit and you don't ever know what version it is, you can go to the About section. And this is the same thing on the table. When you go to that in the teacher menu, you can actually go to technical support, and it tells you which version you're running. So I'm running version 2.5, which is the current version. The table should say version 2.6 after you update it. So when you do your product updaters, I know that there's a table portion. The table software, that's almost more for you to say, oh, there's an update, and then I need to go download and extract and put that on my table. Let's keep going on. Oops, so there's the table toolkit. I wanted just to remind you about some resources, and then I'm going to go into a few little pieces of the table toolkit. So we're going to kind of dissect one of those activity packs. So I want to remind you, I put all of the resources. So if I go to my website, which is heathersdigitaldashboard.com, so what I've actually done is I've updated my file. So if you're not familiar with Smart Notebook 11, if you don't have interactive whiteboards, you do get a license of Smart Notebook. If you get a table, you will have a license. You may need to call with your serial number of the table. Call our tech support, and they'll give you your product key. So you do get a license of Smart Notebook as well as Smart Sync. So those are some considerations if you haven't delved in. Smart Notebook will allow you to do some things like running 3D content. The table is 3D ready. So those are some more value-added pieces that are kind of fun on the table. So those three-dimensional objects that we have available from the Smart Exchange. This is my website. So, and then if you're looking for some training, you can click on this link right here that will take you to the Smart Learning Space, which is our training site. If I come up here, the Smart Table resources are here. And so this is where I'll post the registration, and then the past sessions, I upload them to my YouTube channel. I also have some resources right here these are some resources that are like here's best practices for using the table toolkit. It still has some of the old pictures, which it's still the same process. So what I've done too is when I update this or upload this file and share it, I've actually put in some of those too. So I get, this is a PDF, but because I'm using Smart Ink, that I told it to be the default viewer. That's why I get that little gray icon. I have also, as far as smart table resources, when I share this, you'll see this. This is a plan sheet. So this plan sheet will help you. So when I help teachers, or when I work with teachers, you know, I tell teachers to think about themes, building activity packs in themes. So if your theme is, for instance, spring, or if your theme is frogs, or your theme is into school, or going to the library, whatever it is, think of a theme and then gather all your parts, all the pictures you might use, all the sound files you might use, especially with these third-party apps. They're pretty great, but having all that the stuff, the pieces, the guts of that would be, it just makes it faster, because then you can just pop everything in and you're not searching. It's a little bit different than in Notebook. Notebook, you kind of craft it while you're, or that's the way I do sometimes. I don't really think of themes, I think of content. And I do that with, obviously, we have to think of that in standards. But when I think of themes, all of my activities and my applications center around a theme. Because if I'm really focusing on words, maybe the math application might not be the application that I want to choose. So I've given some pieces that you can actually, so I have an application as addition, and I'll probably start creating, as I start working with these third-party apps, some of these for the third-party apps. What can be customized, so I have that for you, and then what I can do is I can come down here, and I'm looking at this one. I'm going to fix this because this one I updated to have Smart Notebook in it, and I don't see this. So this is a quick little guide to help you when you start creating. You may not be ready to create. There's over 1,700 activity packs. Actually, I looked today. There's 19 now. But you may not be ready to create an activity pack just yet. So this would be a little, this is a guide to help you to perhaps think about your themes. And so when you start thinking about your themes, what you need to do is, if you start, if I start thinking about them, I can actually go right here and say, well, it's a Smart Table Activity Pack. It's got applications and it's got activities within the applications. You can have 8 applications in one activity pack. So the third parties, I guess I probably need to start adding some of those. And then you test it and repeat the activities. So this is a good little guide. It will be, I will, like I said, when I send out the link to say, hey, here's the link, I'll put links to these files so that you can repurpose them or use them. I also, when I go to, I wanted to show you a quick little tip as far as smart training resources. So I'm going to go back to our Smart Tech website. And I'm going to go to the Support tab, and I'm going to go, actually I'm going to go to Resources tab, and I'm going to go to Smart Training and Professional Development. Someone showed me this a couple of years ago, and it was the best tip ever. So I'm going to show you it because I think it's just fantastic. So I'm going to go down here to Training by Product. I'm going to scroll over, and this still has a picture of the 230i, which is okay. As we migrate and get more resources, that those images will change. Here's the best tip ever. So when I scroll here, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Sometimes it's even more than this, depending on the product you're using. Well, if I'm a teacher and I know that I don't have any budget to go anywhere, if I'm, working with teachers, I might not have any budget to go anywhere. Depending on your need, here's the best tip. So if you click on this, and any product has this, if you fine-tune your results, I'm going to click on that button right there, and I'm going to click and make sure that Smart Table is selected. I'm going to select Free Resources, and I'm going to go to Education. And I'm going to refine my results. Now, when I go to results, only things that are free are going to show up here. So here's more, getting started. Here's a bunch of quick reference guides. So many of the things that I've been showing and sharing are right here. Here's a quick little video that you can go see. These are all free resources. There is some technical training pieces. So these are things that, like adjusting the projector. There is no projector in the 442i, but in the 230i there is. Here's a little flash video. Also the 230i had most of the tables had an uninterrupted power supply. So here's a video about that. Here's some videos or some PDFs about working with the toolkit. So maybe that will help you to get a little further along with your creation of your activity packs. So that was probably one of the best tips I've heard. And then you can always go to the Smart Learning space. So if I let's go back, I'll show you the easy way to find it. I can click right here to, let's see if that's going to link. Yep. It looks like it's thinking about it. So if this is the easy way. I'm all about easy way. Or you can go to my website. So here is, let me close out of here and let's go here and let me log out, because sometimes when I'm logged in, it sometimes shows a little bit more things. Oh, maybe not. Oh, maybe I didn't want to log out. So I think I'm going to just leave it like that, because I'll probably have to, let's see. And the nice thing is on this is we'll just go in here. And whoops, that's not the right login. So what's nice about this is the same login as your, okay, maybe I won't log in right now. I apologize. I think logins are going to probably at some point be the death of me. So, I just, too many logins to have to remember, but that should be the same login as that I have for the Smart Exchange. So I obviously am not typing the right thing. So that's the best thing, is that's one less login that I have to remember. So I apologize, but go to the Smart Learning space and check that out. I also put some resources here as I was opening those. These are links. This is a link to, I did it for you. I went and actually I didn't. It keeps reverting back. So let's go to Smart Table. So it didn't like my link. And then hopefully you're seeing this again, so this will help you. Education, refine. So I'll fix that before I send it out. And here we go. There's the call down results. And then just a page that goes over the smart, how to find those Smart Table activity packs. And then a link to the past sessions of those. My YouTube channel, you can see, it is called Table Friend, but I also lead a webinar, and it's like, as I think I mentioned, that it's going to be national, but it is Texas right now. But you can see up here, so here's the Texas webinar. Anybody is welcome to look at these. They're just helping teachers to build that community. But anywhere it says Smart Table Virtual User Group, those are our past sessions. They go back pretty far. And then there are some chapters. Now I will give the caveat that these were done in a previous version of the toolkit. I am going to be trying to update some of these so that they're more current. They do get you, so they were updated 2 years ago. So they do give you a little bit of knowledge about some of the applications. It's just a couple of the steps might be a little different, but they're a good resource for getting started. So that's on my YouTube channel. So Smart Table Friend, that's there. All right. So let me come over here. Let's talk about a couple of tips and tricks. So one of the things that I always get asked is, how do I get backgrounds here? So, you know, it's not a hard thing to do. Anything can be a background. I like to create a background in Notebook, and so, you know, I'm going to, I'll just use this as a background. So I'm going to say this is my background and just show you a really easy way to make a background. So this is in Smart Notebook. It's not You know, I can do the same thing in PowerPoint. There are some past sessions that talk about, you know, creating backgrounds. So let's do this. So I'm just going to leave this right here. I'll turn him. I'm going to show you. So this is the thing that people have to remember about when you create backgrounds, is if I say this is how to create a background. Well, when I'm looking at a Smart Notebook file, that's great, but the table is a 360-degree environment. So what I need to do is I'm going to clone this or copy and paste it, because I need to, I'm going to reverse those. So this is going to go down here, because those kiddos that are at this side of the table down here at that bottom side, they're going to be able to read that. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put this right here. Ignore the green. I made a theme, so that's why this file has a theme in it. But I have that. I'm going to turn these around. So because when I create activities, I don't want everything top heavy, because what will happen is everybody will start coming to my side of the table. Let me find something fun. Let's just put this little hat here. So I'll put that right there. Okay, nothing real fancy. I'm going to turn the ant around too. Oops. So I did this in Notebook. This is why Notebook, I love Notebook, because Notebook is object-oriented. Just gives you a greater degree of flexibility. So how do I get that background into my table activity pack? That's not a hard thing. So let's just put it right here on this. So watch how easy this is. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to go actually to my page. So I'm going to uncheck auto hide. This is my page, and notice that it says, where do I want to get my background image? Do I want to use, you know, is it something that I saved? Is it a image that I have somewhere? Well, I'm just going to show you how easy to use Notebook. I don't even have this saved anywhere, but watch how tricky and easy, not tricky, but cool this is. So if I take this over here, there is my background right there. Well, if I have this, you know, some of the parts are missing. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take it right here. I don't want that Inspire collaboration, so I'm going to just bring that up a little bit right there. You know, maybe I want this to be a little bit smaller. Do you see what's happening? I don't even have to do anything fancy. Then when I click OK, there's my background. I might need to adjust some of the pictures, but that's pretty easy. That's how you do any backgrounds. If I have addition right here, I'm going to go to the addition tab. Notice that over here it says step 1, set your counting options. Step 2, here's your background. I can do the same thing. I'm going to double click on, I like to double click or move my file over just so I can see both files. And I'm going to take that same thing, I'm going to drop it in, fix it a little bit. Maybe this time I only want that hat to be my background. I just could do that. Let's fix that V so it's not there. Look at that. There's my background. So anything can really be your background. Isn't that fun? So I can make backgrounds that easy. And then remember that I can preview and see what it's going to look like. Addition is that counting block. So I would set something up for it to count. So that's really a couple of tips and tricks. I can use that same technique with creating that cropping. I can do that not just with backgrounds, but I can do it with objects that would be moving around in our table. And that's what we'll look at in our table activity pack at some point through this series. So last but not least, let me go back here, because inside of, let me close that out. Let me go back in here. Here's where I want. So inside of here, I do have one that I downloaded, and we've got just a couple more minutes. So it says you must close the table toolkit before opening another one. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to close this. So you can only have one instance of it. I'm not going to save it. So now I'm going to open it up. If you have any recommendations for the table, send them my way, because they're looking to see how to enhance it. Here was that cool spring one that I opened up. Notice their background, spring. They've got this fun background that they created. Remember how I talked about the 360-degree environment? See how the kids are upside down. They don't look upside down when you're looking at them. I mean, they look upside down, but when you're on the table, you're looking down. So that's things to think about when you build it. So this is one of our ecosystems partners. If you said, oh, that I don't like the hot spots, there is some level of customizing, but not like the backgrounds and things you could change. Sometimes you can change many things. Sometimes you can change not too many things. You can't swap between activity packs. That's just not, you can only have one activity pack. You can't swap between like you can in Notebook. If you didn't want, let's say you didn't want one of these, like maybe my kids are not really ready for this multiple choice, I can actually delete things and get rid of them. So if I didn't want that one, I could delete that application. I would also recommend doing a save as, because this says ST grade K science activity. That means really nothing to me. So I would recommend saving it into a name that you might remember. So spring, I might call it spring 5th week, and then whatever it is, lamb, and then I'll save it. So now it has a new name, so then it's easily recognizable on the table. All right. So that's just a little bit of Back to the Basic, our series. I wanted to get kind of really of the information out about the new software because we will be using that software come the next session. I wanted to make sure that people understand about some of those resources that are available and my resources. If you have questions, I have, let me go down to this page right here, my email. The next session is going to be May 28th, and we will do Back to the Basic series. This time we will build our own Smart Table Activity Pack. So what normally will happen is I will send out some resources to everyone that's registered for the session prior. And you'll have those on your in a folder, and you kind of will take kind of a slow building process to how to build some of these activities, activity packs. So we'll go through the process of doing that. You can watch me and do it, or you can participate in doing it. It's up to you. So sometimes I have people that will just watch it and then go back and do it on their own as they're watching the video. So I hope that our small but mighty little group, I hope that you enjoyed today. I know it's a busy, busy season in Texas. It's actually testing season. So this week was testing, but hopefully the best thing about the program that we use is that you can go back and watch it. I didn't see any questions that I can see up here, over on my screen. So if you have any questions after the fact, let me know in email. And I look forward to seeing you on May 28th. Have a great afternoon, and those of you that are watching this, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Those of you that attended live, be watching too. I'll send out the invitation, or the link will have a certificate and the file and the link to the recording. So have a great afternoon. Thanks, guys. We'll talk on the 28th.